Değerli misafirlerimiz, yeniden merhabalar. Eurasia Rail 2025 fuarımızın çatısı altında düzenlediğimiz konferans programımızın ikinci gününün 3. oturumundayız. Bu konferans günümüzün değerli işbirlikçileri Arus, Raylı Sistemler Derneği ve TÜBİTAK Rute'nin yanı sıra oturum sponsorlarımız Duagon ve Hitachi Rail. Bugünkü bu oturumumuzda da Duagon, Hitachi Rail ve Alstom'dan çok kıymetli konuşmacıları ağırlıyoruz. Raydan Buluta, uluslararası koridorlarda dijital altyapının geleceğini konuşacağımız oturumumuzda, uluslararası demiryolu koridorlarında dijitalleşmenin sunduğu fırsatlar, sinyalizasyon sistemlerindeki uyumluluk çözümleri ve veri destekli operasyonel verimlilik alanları odağında ele alınacak, bölgesel entegrasyonla dijital altyapının da yükselen rolü konuşulacak. Bu oturumumuzda yabancı konuşmacımız da var. Dolayısıyla çift dilli olacaktır. Türkçe, İngilizce. Simultane tercüme ihtiyacı olan misafirlerimize de ufak bir hatırlatma yapalım. Hemen arka tarafta teknik masadan kulaklıklarınızı temin edebileceğinizi söyleyelim. Sözü de fazla uzatmadan kıymetli konuşmacılarımızı sahneye davet etmek istiyorum. Bu oturumumuzun saygıdeğer moderatörü İstanbul Teknik Üniversitesi Elektrik Elektronik Fakültesi Kontrol ve Otomasyon Mühendisliği Bölüm Başkanı Sayın Profesör Doktor Turan Söylemez. Hoş geldiniz efendim.
Evet, teşekkür ederim.
Kendisine Hitachi Rail Genel Müdürü Sayın Barış Balcılar eşlik ediyor. Panelistlerimizden hoş geldiniz Barış Bey. Bir diğer panelistimiz Alstom Pazarlama Direktörü Afrika, Orta Doğu ve Orta Asya bölgesinden sorumlu Pierre-Yves Rabillon. I hope I introduce or pronounce your name correctly, Mr. Pierre. Ve son olarak da Duagon, Asya Pasifik ve Doğu Avrupa, Orta Doğu ve Afrika bölgesi Küresel Satış Direktörü Sayın Sueda Türk. Hoş geldiniz Sueda Hanım. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
Buyurun,
Tekrar
buyurun.
söz sizde Turan Bey.
Evet.
Keyifli paneller.
Evet, teşekkür ederim. Bir belki hatırlatma yapabiliriz. Bu sayacı bir sıfırlayabilirsek biz de takip etmiş oluruz. Öncelikle bütün dinleyicilere hoş geldiniz demek istiyorum. Ve bu arada da yine bu panelde beni moderatör olarak değerlendiren bütün organizasyon komitesine teşekkürlerimi sunmak istiyorum. Şimdi aramızda çok değerli 3 tane konuşmacımız var. Sabahki oturumda da bir şekilde ben bir moderatörlük yaptım. O oturumda aslında yerleşme ana konuydu ve orada özellikle yerli firmalarımızdan Aselsan, TÜBİTAK, FETEK bunlardan çok güzel şeyler dinledik. Ama konferansımızın ana temalarından bir tanesi biliyorsunuz bu sınırların ötesindeki raylar, sınırları geçen raylar. Haliyle bu bağlamda da uluslararası koridorlardan, buradaki dijital alt yatırımların öneminden ve geleceğinden biraz bahsedeceğiz bugünkü panelde. Doğal olarak da bu sefer artık karşımızda dünya devi firmalar, çok farklı yerlerde farklı projeleri yürüten firmalar bu panelde bizim konuğumuz olacaklar. Az önce de söylendiği gibi aramızda bir misafirimiz var, Türkçe bilmeyen. Onun dışında diğer konuklarımızla da aslında biraz önce konuştuk ya biz bunu nasıl yapalım, hani hangi dilde yapsak uygun olur gibisinden. Hani dinleyicilerin önemli bir kısmının İngilizceden yana çok fazla problem yaşamayacağını da düşünerek aslında sunumları İngilizce olarak yapmaya karar verdik. Haliyle sunumlar İngilizce olarak gerçekleşecek. Ben de belli bir noktadan sonra İngilizce konuşmak durumunda kalacağım. Ama öyle ümit ediyorum ki çok büyük bir problem teşkil etmeyecektir. Eğer hani İngilizceyi takip etmekte sıkıntı yaşayacak olan dinleyicilerimiz varsa onlar da simultane tercümeden yararlanabilirler. Ben çok fazla lafı uzatmadan hemen konuşmacılarımıza sözü iletmek istiyorum. Okay, so I believe that we can start our talks. Our first speaker is Mr. Barış Balcılar. He is the general manager of Hitachi Rail, and he will be talking about the importance of interoperability, and especially in our area. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Tran Bey. Thanks, Tran Hocam. Because we are from the same university, which is Istanbul Technical University, which we are very proud of it. Thanks for your time, and it's very proud for me to be here to present you about interoperability. Thanks. For signaling, just small time to update all of us about Hitachi Rail last year due to the acquisition of Hitachi for the Thales GTS, which is Ground Transportation Systems, which mainly the former Alcatel. We have been introduced and be the part of the whole big team right now as Hitachi Rail, and with Hitachi Energy, Vantra, the whole group of big giant company of Hitachi. And you can see that we have been so much developed and, let's say, get bigger with the acquisitions like Thales, Ansal Dobrada in 2015, Union Switch, Lawrence, former Lawrence Cell, which it's really an historical party for us. Therefore, right now we are Hitachi Rail, and we are able to offer the complete portfolio of rail control and vehicles. Rail control means for us the signaling and telecommunication systems, and now we are able to also together offer the rolling stock part, which is the vehicles for the mass transit, urban, and the very high-speed train, which I will a bit smallly touch. Besides that, the trend topic all over the world in rail sector is the digital and the service as all we are following together. And now, if we want to touch the main theme or the main subject, when this Eurasia list of the topics came, I thought this is for me. Why? Because in 2019, when I graduated from Istanbul Technical University, I decided to make Interrail, which I have traveled, I think, 8 countries in Europe with the train. And in each border, I have to sleep whole night because of we have to change the driver, we have to change the loco, whether we have to change the train, etc. So I thought that this is a bit presentation, not a technical one, mainly a user perspective, also besides a perspective of strategy of Turkey. As Turkey, we are a party of the Euro-Asian zone, which is we are connecting Europe with Asia with, I think, 6 connections to our borders. So we are in the Euro-Asian zone, which is connecting 2 continents. Besides, right now, interoperability is impacting the freight passenger, besides military, which was not so much in our presentations before, because we see that it was also in the European Committee regulation to consider the military mobility, or let's say military flight, over the rails. This is an important issue because we see that also Europe is taking care about their security and to utilize their mobility by the rail. And also the technology we will touch. Turkey, as we are a strategical bridge, which we are connecting in 6 international corridors, which is the Trans-European corridor, one is the Balkanian corridor, which is the Silk Road, which are very familiar and famous for it. And we have connection to Syria, Iran, Iraq right now with Zarguzar, connection to Azerbaijan, to Baku, to Georgia. We have connection, we are right now connecting to Bulgaria over our trans-European network. Then also we have a connection to Greece. Before that, we in Turkey, in beginning of 2000s, we are just thinking about the national part of the signaling, just to implement the signaling in our lines. And it was the decision of Turkish Railways to go with ETCS. Indeed, also we are connecting 2 continents. And over the world, we have seen after also pandemic, the freight volume has been increased enormously. And Turkey is a bit cross-border for all of them. And also besides, due to this importance in the freight corridors, also the strategical importance of Turkey for freight and passengers, Turkey Ministry of Transportation has initiated two important projects, which is the development project to Iraq to Basra coast, and the other one is the Zergüzer connection, which is connecting to our Karabakh and then to Azerbaijan. These are a bit Turkish strategical important projects, especially for freight, but also if everything is secure around, we will benefit for the passenger traffic. What are the key challenges or what are the things which I have to wait 25 years to go in each border? First, before in 90s, where the ETCS has not been so much implemented in the European railways, each country has its different signaling system. In Germany, for instance, they were using LZB. In another country, they are using different systems. And in each border, you need to change the loco or the train because there are different signaling systems on the country. The other one is the track and dynamic coach differences. For instance, in Spain, they have a different coach. So they have to change the whole train and locals, trains, passenger coaches. Even in sometimes the dynamic coach does not fit to use and utilize the same loco, the train, rolling stock. Also, the other factor was the power supply. In Turkey, for instance, we are using 25 kV AC. In Bulgaria, as far as I know, they are using 3 kilovolt DC. In Germany, it is 15 kilovolt, but it's a different frequency. And in Spain, it is 25. So in order to have a train which is coming from Hamburg to Istanbul, they should harmonize the signaling system. You should harmonize the electrification part. Besides, there's another perspective is the telecom part. We were using GSMR in this time, but due to some bottlenecks, in the telecom sector, there's a system called FRMCS, which has to be utilized after 2030, but it's a problem that is also we will encounter in the next years. Cybersecurity and the data is another perspective because we see that also in last 2 years, let's say the blockage of the energy, sometimes it always brings the question whether it comes from the cyber. And also the multi-onboard units issue is the next challenge. I have been working in a rolling stock project in Germany, and the train has 7 different obus on it. 7 times of onboard cost, 7 times of engineering, plus integration between 7 systems. And the train was ready, but the onboards will never be ready because you have to homologate, certificate, and test them in all the lines. Also, what we have seen that all in the different countries, they have different operating rules across the borders. For instance, in Italy, you have to have the second driver, like in the airplanes. But in Austria, they say that, okay, one driver with taking all the conditions and the precautions, it is sufficient. There are, therefore, this is a bit the key challenges for operational rules, regulatory misalignments, and sometimes the train certification. Let's say the train coming from, let's say, Hamburg to Istanbul also has to be certified in Turkey or should have a certified with TSI regulations already that the TCDD can able to accept to run in their lines. So these are the main challenges for the interoperability in general. So when we look at the signaling part, the interoperability relies on the harmonized system which can run on the tracks with the same onboard units and also have the same components that to replace each other, also to have an ease of the interfaces in the borders. Digitalization, of course, it will bring a lot of benefits to us because with the digitalization, we will move to an software-based interfaces than an hardware-based interfaces. Then also the OB integration is one of the critical issues, as I told you. It costs significant money to all operators to have one onboard unit in it. Besides considering the automatic train operation in the main lines, this issue will become more and more significantly important for all of us. And of course, all the operators want to optimize their costs to achieve this interoperability. So, as Hitachi, we remain committed to building resilient, which is safe, which has less problems, less maintenance, and interoperable systems, even with integration of many companies in our umbrella, like right now, former Ansaldo, former Thales, we will be able to create synergy. Also, we will be able to ease the interfaces between each other, which also exist in Turkey, and also a sustainable rail corridor. In Turkey, so the answer to this interoperability in respect to signaling was the ETCS, which has been already decided by the European Community. And in Turkey, as Hitachi Rail, we have achieved 1,600 kilometers of ETCS level 1 and more than 1,000 of ETCS level 2. We have many projects with level 1 coming from Thales and Ansaldo, besides level 2 projects. Even when you compare Turkey for the number of kilometers implemented for level 2, which is ETCS level 2, sometimes we have more tracks installed with level 2 than in other countries. So the implementation of TCDD and even us, the numbers are comparably good numbers when compared with other countries, even in Europe. Of course, our capabilities, is the ETRs, ETCS level 1, level 2, traffic management systems. Besides, the technology moves to more cloud-based solutions, and also we have a artificial intelligence-based predictive analytics with the HiMax that you can use it for signaling, for rolling stock, even for the energy system. So we will have a platform which can serve for whole portfolio. Besides, of course, the cybersecurity and the architecture is the critical topics for us. And of course, the digital interlinking, which is a very trendy topic these days, which we are implementing in Germany, which will ease the interfaces and interoperability because it will be a digitally based, not so much based on hardware. So when we have to create an interface in the borders and interoperability, we will need less hardware, mainly the software integration, so it will bring a lot of benefit to all of us, which will increase also the flexibility and having more features on the software. Case studies, I don't want to deal with you with the details of the case studies. Of course, in Turkey, we are proud that right now we are implementing fully as a country the Edirne-Kars corridor, which is in last month we have been awarded for the Kars station, which will be the border to Bulgaria line. So if Bulgaria Railway Authority defines its solution, which we propose is also ETCS for that section, the train which is coming from the ETCS on board from Bulgaria can run till if the line is full to Kars. So still we have been involved in Çerkezköy-Kapıkule project for our track circuits. Then we had the line between Ankara, Istanbul, which is between right now Gebze to Ankara. One side is from former legacy Ansaldo, the other part mainly from the Thales. Then we have the Trans-Caspadian route, which goes to Azerbaijan and with Zarguzer and to Iran corridor. Of course, we hope that everything will be settled around us. This is important. And also we have Italy-Verano line, which is connected to Austria and Mediterranean. All in these lines, the key challenges has been experienced. And the key is, of course, to implementing the ETCS level 1, level 2, which has been decided from the operator. Therefore, these are our case studies. I would not go into details, but I will be happy to answer your questions if you have specifically. Just the key message from myself. Right now, we have development project in Turkey. We have Zarguzer. And in Turkey, from the customer perspective and the industry perspective, this country has already know-how to also support the nearby neighborhood countries in terms of technical specification, in terms of implementation. So as Hitachi Rail, we see Turkey is also a cross-border to enlarging our business to the neighborhoods within these projects. Thank you for your time and listening. I would be great to hear your questions.
Okay, thank you, Barış Bey, for this interesting talk. We will be taking questions after all presenters finish their talks. So without losing time, I'd like to go to our next presenter, Pierre US Rebellion. I'm sorry for my awful
No
French.
Well,
So he is the regional marketing director of Alstom, and actually he's responsible for a very large region, including Turkey, Middle East, Africa, I believe, and some part of the
Central Asia.
Turkic countries, yes. The talk will be more about smart infrastructure and digital rolling stock, and with an interesting case study on Dubai, I believe. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Okay. So thanks for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here in front of you today to talk about digital. And sorry to be the guy who is forcing you to speak in English instead of Turkish. Unfortunately, my Turkish is very bad or even not existing at all. So sorry for that. So as you said, I'm Pierre Rabillon. As you said, the region I work for is quite vast, from South Africa to Kazakhstan, with a very different perspective from one geography to another. International corridors matter a lot for the region. Turkey, Kazakhstan, which is just in the middle of the so-called middle corridor. My company, few words about Alstom. So Alstom is a global supplier of mobility solution. It's a big group, big company. We are in 60 countries, operating in 60 countries. We have more than 200 sites. More than 85,000 people. It's a company of engineers. 1/4 of these people are engineers. And we design, we manufacture, and we supply rail system in general. We have a quite broad range of products in rolling stock, where we can design, supply metro trains, tramways, monorails, automated people mover. So for those who don't know, automated people mover are these small trains that are transporting people from one terminal to another at the airport, as well as high-speed and very high-speed trains, obviously. It's not only about rolling stock. We are selling as well and supplying signaling solutions, as well as digital solution, and we will talk about it soon. And last but not least, we obviously can provide as well service for rolling stock and signaling infrastructure on the install base. So we are a global company, as I said, but we are as well very local, with a very strong footprint in Turkey. And it's not like we are a newcomer. As a matter of fact, we are in the country since 70 years now. And for the anecdote, the first electric locomotive up and running in the country was Alstom technology back in the 50s. Since then, we try to invest in the local railway ecosystem. We work with a solid network of suppliers in the country, more than 25 suppliers from the railway industry. We are spending tens of millions of euros with this supplier. We are developing as well a pool of expertise in engineering and technology with the recent, I would say, setup of this technology center of excellence at the Technopark in Istanbul. The focus of our people there are mostly signaling, so ETCS, automation, train control, interlocking. They work not only for the Turkish market, but by their expertise, they support as well the execution of projects outside of Turkey. At Alstom, we share the bold vision of the Turkey mobility master plan, and we invest in the country. Beyond that Technopark, we as well have acquired recently a manufacturing site at Bursa, where we manufacture components for the railway industry, and not only for Turkey, but as well for re-export. And yeah, and we have as well willingness, and it's already a reality, to support the business development as well as the project execution together with Turkish EPC companies in Turkey, obviously, but as well abroad, outside of Turkey, and especially in the region I work for, so Africa, Middle East, and Central Asia. At Alstom, we plan to have Turkey as the regional hub for expertise for the region. Now to talk about digital, my colleague, and thanks for that, talk about digital in a very much Turkish context. Thank you for that. I will try to step back a little bit, and I will more give you a big picture on digital, digitization of infrastructure and railway, and how it can, let's say, reshape totally the future of mobility. And I wanted to first share with you a strong reminder. As you might know, today, transportation globally represents close to 30% of the CO2 emission in the world, mostly from energy combustion, mostly from fossil fuel combustion, right? So obviously, rail mobility will have a strong role to play in order to fight against climate change. So just to share an example, it's, I would say, an example which is quite known, but if, for example, if you want to take, and if you take an high-speed train from Paris to Barcelona, north of Spain, basically you will release in the atmosphere 50 times less CO2 particles in the atmospheres compared to the use of a plane. So it's a lot. And at Alstom, so we are taking our part by trying to develop a smarter and greener mobility solution. And I think a good example, a good illustration of what we can do, and I think it's really about the topic of today, is the metro of Riyadh. The metro train that you can see here was inaugurated like 6 months ago. But the project started in execution 10 years ago. And at that time, it was the biggest metro rail system ever launched in the world. Alstom delivered 4 out of the 6 lines there. And this train is the future because this train is fully automated. It's driverless. It's certified GOA4. For those who are not familiar with that, it means that this is the highest level of automation. And so basically, with this train up and running, you are concretely removing cars from the congested road of Riyadh. It's a reality. It's greener. It's smarter because it's digital, right? And it's not enough because since the launch and the inauguration of these metro trains, people have to wait 2 or 3 trains before entering into the system, not because of our train, because of the success of the metro. Our infrastructure and our trains there are digital native. They are equipped with the latest and greatest CBTC system, which allow to have a headway of less than 90 seconds. And despite that, people are waiting on the quay, on the stations, to enter into the train. So we can do even better. But this is just to show you how impactful what we do here, our rail system, the metros, as well as the digital layers on top of it, are supporting the development of the mobility in general, and especially in the region. I talked about the transportation and obviously the railway transportation as one of the most sustainable way for transporting people and goods, but it cannot be at any cost. Operators in the future will have to cope with an increasing number of passengers, increasing volumes of goods to be transported, And these people, operators or ministers, doesn't want to spend too much money or reinvesting in the existing infrastructure. And what we believe in Alstom is that digital can help the operators, the companies, the mobility companies to get the most of their existing infrastructure at the fraction of the cost of the investment of a full brand new equipment and infrastructure. The reason for that is that thanks to digitization, and we will address that later on, you can increase the capacity of the line. I've mentioned the Riyadh Metro. Thanks to CBTC, you increase the capacity by 30%, 30. It's a big number. So you can, I would say, unlock higher speed thanks to digitization. You can shorter the headway. I've mentioned the case of Riyadh. You can globally improve the efficiency of your operations. We will address that as well with another example, which is the Dubai tram. You will have less interruption of service on your operation thanks to digital. You can have a better performing equipment, more reliable. We will see that again with another example I would like to share with you. Ultimately, as well, for the operator, it's about making savings beyond having a better security and safety for the passenger. Obviously, ultimately, operators want to save money, and they can do it with digital. And last but not least, passengers, obviously, what we do needs to be passenger-centric. So with real-time defect identification, we aim at providing more, let's say, a smoother and more relaxed, I would say, journey for the passengers. We try as well with digitization to avoid and eliminate human errors. This is what we can do as well. And overall, globally, improving the security of the goods, of the passenger, and of the assets. So I will, okay. What I'm going to show you now is the global, I would say, value chain of the rail digitization. Everything starts with the so-called smart infrastructure and digital rolling stock. This was something which was already addressed by my colleagues. Smart infrastructure is all about, existing signaling system that by nature are, for the greatest and latest technology, are digital native. So bringing a digital technology into the infrastructure, it will be ETCS for mainline, it will be CBTC for urban solution, but that will trigger already some good solution, like headway optimization, as we discussed, or automated train control system for braking, for accelerating, for stopping the train. So already existing solution. But to that, we will add more and more sensors everywhere. So obviously, on the latest generation of rolling stock, everything is already embedded. But for all the installed base, it will have to be installed, right? So you will have a bunch of sensors, CCTV for capturing pictures, image of the assets, sensors to measure temperature, to measure noise, vibration, all that kind of parameter that will be used in the predictive model I will just talk about. All that, either on the infrastructure or in the train, will generate a massive amount of data, and it's already there. So before being able to benefit from the beauty of big data and all that stuff, you will have to first have a very serious data management strategy. This is something that we see more and more in the tenders that we receive from our customers. It's to support them in building up their data strategy in order to break the silos or to share broadly the data across the department or across the different stakeholders and players between operators, regulators. But it will have a role to play as well for interoperability. There is definitely a challenge on hosting the data. Once you have created the data, you have a strategy, you need to host all this massive amount of data somewhere. What we see at Alstom is more and more a move towards a cloud-based solution from the usual on-premises, which means basically hosting the data in your own IT infrastructure. Now we see basically technology moving towards cloud-based solution. It's creating as well additional challenges, obviously, especially in the frame of international corridors. But it's what we see today. And connectivity, it's the cornerstone of real-time, I would say, digital services. If you want to benefit from the latest and greatest digital technology, it will have to be real-time. So real-time connectivity means using different type of communication system, can be cellular with 4G, 5G, especially in the urban context, as well as a trackside communication system, which is quite well known here. And obviously satellite will be super, I would say, relevant, especially for international corridors connectivity, because here the price of it per data will be a bit higher, but you will have a much broader coverage, especially valid for this international, I would say, connectivity. And so all that put together, you will trigger some new digitization solution. At Alstom, we define it around 3 main pillars: operations, asset management, and passenger experience. Operations will be to even further develop I would say, real-time operation and remote capabilities of your train, of your infrastructure. Can be, for example, this is something that we are currently developing, is the remote, I would say, wake-up trains. So basically, on your trains, before the commercial services, few hours before the commercial services of the train, you can switch on some features of your train that will make some, I would say, adjustment and make some assessment of system capabilities of your train that will be shared with the operation center and possibly intervene before the commercial services, so that when the drivers come to the train, everything is already set up and ready to go. This is for the remote operation. For asset management, it's all about real-time condition monitoring of the system, and I will discuss that right after, so I will not pass too much time on it. But ultimately, it is to optimize the maintenance planning of the operator or the maintenance company, and ultimately to reduce the cost of failure of your equipment. Passenger experience is more about enhancing the journey of the passengers. So it's basically having end-to-end solution for the passengers so that they can benefit from continuous services all along their journey, before the train or before getting into the train, on board and after the train, with usual internet on board on the train, as well as infotainment. Cybersecurity matters. The more the digital, the more cyber secure solution you need. I will not pass too much time on that, but beyond bringing up cyber solution, you need to cope with regulation. So maybe just to address the point of interoperability, in the case of international corridor, you will have to manage as well different, I would say, regulation in cybersecurity, so it will add a layer of complexity. And AI on the right-hand side is just about artificial intelligence. It's how to turn all this data that you will have access to into actionable, I would say, insights using, I would say, machine learning, providing a more robust predictive model, etc., etc. So I'm running late. I will just share this slide and I'm done. Yeah. With that, it's the example of Dubai Tram. It's a system that we installed 10 years ago. As you can guess, I mean, as Alstom, it is evolving in a harsh environment with a temperature of up to 50 degrees for more than a few months in the year, with a lot of humidity and sandy environment. A few years back, we installed a system, a real-time condition monitoring system, together with the customers. We install a bunch of sensors all along the lines, on the tracks and in the train. It's creating a massive amount of data, and it makes sense because after 3 years of operation, it has made some outcomes, including basically multiplying by 3 the usual or the average time between two system failure, which is a lot, and which has allowed us as well to reduce the failure rate by 50%. I stopped there because I talked too much. I'm very sorry for that.
Okay.
It's a really passionate topic, so.
Yeah, thank you, Pierre.
Yeah.
Actually, I know it's very difficult, but there are many things to talk, but we have a limited time.
Yeah, no
so
worries.
Let's
My
thanks
mistake.
to the speaker in the usual way. Okay, so I'd like to pass to the next speaker immediately. So our next speaker is Ms. Süheda Türk. Actually, she is the global director for sales in Dragon, and she's also responsible for a very wide area, including APEC and Middle East. That includes Turkey. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a really interesting panel because we started across countries, then we came to the digital rolling stock, and now we're going to go to the details of how digitalization actually works on board. And we, as Duagon, I'm really proud to be sitting here in this panel with 2 of our largest accounts as a key and strategic supplier to both Alstom and Hitachi, and happy to share our learnings as a company, how to move towards digitalization and data economy.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Just a few numbers on Duagon. So we are a hidden Swiss champion company specialized in network and computing solutions, enabling technology of large train builder companies like Hitachi and Alstom, but also their suppliers, subsystem suppliers, and operators as well. We are in the market since more than 25 years with 750 employees. Half of them are engineers located in Switzerland, Germany, and Spain. We are a railway company, so we design our products, network and computing products for railway first, and we also serve medical and other industries as a side hobby. So here you can see an overview of all the applications that we support. We don't deliver these solutions or the subsystems ourselves. We enable these companies to go to market quicker. And I'm going to explain now that transition that we see within the onboard consist network, and how are we bringing up an acceleration and a technology enable from our portfolio. So as Pierre already mentioned, digitalization is bringing a larger amount of data transfer to make it more smart, to go also towards sustainability. And that's why we are observing a transition in the consist network from an MVB technology, which used to be dominant in the market as a railway-specific protocol, into an Ethernet-based protocols. And in Turkey at the moment, the dominant network topology is based on MVB. And I think looking forward in the couple of years, we will also see in Turkey the transition towards Ethernet-based protocols. And the main reason is Ethernet allows you to transmit more data and manage your whole asset in a smarter way. When we say MVB to Ethernet, the first conception is, okay, so it's like a plug and play. We just switch the MVB to Ethernet. As we have been accompanying Bombardier back in the time with the IPTCom network, we have seen the whole process of this misconception taking place. So when we change from MVB to Ethernet, it brings a lot of different dimensions of complexity. MVB used to be a simple and clean protocol used in railway only. So the attackers from a cybersecurity aspect didn't know the details of this protocol. It was a closed system. It didn't have any connection to the internet, which also simplifies the whole security concept. And now when we are talking about the Ethernet, there is a huge still range of different protocols in the market. So Alstom will come with its own definition of what this means an Ethernet network. Hitachi will come with its own. And all train builders have to define different aspects, as you see here. And we are helping their suppliers and train builders to accelerate this or overcome these number of variations. Here you see a simple image of how it looks between the two. So from an MVB to Ethernet, it looks similar as a network. So either in a ring topology, you have the consist switches on the Ethernet side, which are connected to the end devices. So these end devices are doors, brakes, HVAC, so all the different subsystems on the tray. And then let me explain you what are the different complexities we saw over the last 10 plus years working with Ethernet and networks. First is the number of variants. Every trend builder had to come up with a definition in terms of redundancy, safety, security, etc. So that creates a huge number of different variants that are currently running on the market, including their different releases over time. So we are talking about maybe 20 plus different variants being used worldwide. Then we have the safety and real-time performance. As you know, or as you might know, Ethernet is not a real-time protocol on its own. So that's why the hardware needs to be managed carefully to make it or imitate it a real-time protocol. Then we have different topology variants, which also needs to be taken care in the design phase, which was not the case for MVB. And then we go to hardware, so being backward and forward compatible, which is extremely important in railway, also considering sustainability and retrofit projects to be able to change cards and upgrade technology over time. This also we take care as Duagon. And then fifth item is the web server or web interface. Operator rightfully would like to deploy from a central location the firmware and the software on the devices in the train. And we allow, with our web interface solutions on the interface cards, this kind of deployment and also troubleshooting, etc. Last, but probably the most important aspect of Ethernet is, of course, the cybersecurity. And for that, the regulatory landscape is evolving. We are following closely all the different standards that are guiding us, along with our key customers that are also showing us the way. And building train builder specific cybersecurity packages that can be easily deployed from a project to another for the subsystem supplier. So let me go and one by one, maybe a little bit accelerated, as it was already a good transition. I think some of the points I want to mention already has been taken care. So as I said, there's a huge number of Ethernet protocols out there. It's not just one TCP/IP UDP. TRDP standard is defined in IEC 61375, but it's only semi-defined. So the rest, let's say the redundancy, safety, security, has to be defined on a project basis. Then we assure with our Duagon hardware architecture this real-time performance. So if we split the critical and non-critical, or cyclical and non-cyclical data from each other that runs on different hardware allocations through the UDP stack, which assures that Ethernet really behaves in a real-time manner as promised. Then, looking forward, in order to reduce the jitter, so in order to guarantee that the data is delivered at the recipient at the promised time, in order to decrease the delay, what we see, especially in the Chinese market, becoming more and more adopted is the TSN, for which we already also have solutions for. This is called the time-sensitive network, and it separates the critical and non-critical data throughput from each other, and then prioritizes the critical data traffic, so that it assures that data is delivered to the recipient on time and real time. I already mentioned the topology, how the connection will be made also depends. I think what I want to touch here is from dual homing. So dual homing is a concept where you have two ports on the Ethernet device in order to provide a redundancy on a physical layer. We have seen so far active-active, so basically the whole traffic on the train being duplicated on both ends, or active-passive. So when one of them is failing, the other one becomes activated. And finally, also virtual LANs are typically used to enable that transition. As Duagon, we approach this complexity in order to simplify the whole process for the subsystem builder. So we have the MVB solutions that can be easily transmitted to the Ethernet. From a hardware point of view, it's limited, minimum change. And I think this is what will happen also in the Turkish market looking forward when we are moving towards Ethernet-based protocols. I said the web interface. So the web interface has its own benefits, especially for the operator. Operator can deploy from a central location the software or the firmware for the subsystem, let's say a brake control. It can manage the event logs through this web server. It can check specific signals in case of a problem. And also, as I said, we developed specific web server solutions that are fitting to Alstom's or Hitachi's requirements or Siemens requirements in this way. So that it's easy and straightforward for the supplier to go quickly and implement a project. Here it gives you a network topology of a security. I think it's important to think of the security concept not like a coconut shape where once you get in the shield, inside it's easy and the attacker can do whatever they want. But the security concept should be like an onion, that it's layer by layer. You have several layers of security so that it takes time for the attacker to crack one by one all these protection layers. For that, we have different solutions. Firstly, I would like to start on the end device. So the end device, let's say, again, brake control or door control. Door control unit needs to protect itself, and we can provide this through the interface card. So when there's an attack and the interface card is down, the door control unit is still intact. Another example that we support is the intrusion detection device. Hereby, we are providing with our own secure and railway-specific operating system, Duagon OS, we are providing a platform that enables all the rail security applications. And also, we also have data diodes that allow the data to be filtered from a non-vital network to the vital network to decrease the amount of open points for an attacker to get into the system. As a company, we are already certified by TÜV for the product development. And for the products, we have already products that are corresponding to SL2 to SL3. So SL2 in IEC 62443 means an attacker with a certain level of knowledge cannot access the system. So if it says SL2, cannot access the system. And for that, we already provide solutions in different projects. And then for IT, ISO 27001. As you probably have heard, the Cyber Resilience Act has come into place, and now it's a new legislation, which means all European companies or companies who would like to do business in Europe, in order to get the CE mark, need to follow the Cyber Resilience Act. What does it mean for us as a enabling technology company? It means we can't just sell a solution. We have to not only design the whole product with this security processes, but also maintain the product for 5 years, as you can see, after the delivery of the product. So it will, we are already prepared for this legislation as a company, and then we will adapt ourselves accordingly. And how do we provide this? We come with different packages to simplify the cybersecurity complex topic for our customers. The basic, extended, or advanced package based on the needs of the project. So why do our customers use the interface card? Because it's clear that you can also decide to do by yourself. I think the main value that we are providing is you can deal with all these different complexities as a HVAC supplier or as a brake control company, doing the protocol, managing the safety, managing the security, and trying to tackle all this complexity by yourself. Or you can have the interface card that acts as an abstraction layer so that you don't have to deal with all these aspects. And you can simply switch from one train builder to another without spending time on this network aspect. So your time to market shortens. That's what we offer. You reduce the complexity and you trust the network experts in the market since 25 plus years and in the Ethernet topologies since more than 10 years. And finally, you reduce the risk of the overall project. So this is how we support our customers. All in all, we are as I said, we are an enabler company for providing computing solutions and network products, both to train builders, to operators, and also to subsystem suppliers. We provide worldwide support from our different offices. Mainly, R&D departments are in Europe, and then we also have sales and application support centers in different countries. So I will be super happy if you have any questions. We are in Hall 2, booth 2035, and this is my LinkedIn profile, so let's connect. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Süheyda Hanım. Thank you for all, thanks for all the speakers. So, do we have any questions from the audience? So we have a few minutes. Okay, go on. Okay. Just wait for a second for the microphone. Okay.
Merhabalar, Süleyman Açıkbaş, Haysim Technology and Engineering, General Consultant. Currently I'm working in a Manila project where two of the main companies working on the same project. So, actually my questions as expected will be to Barış Bey and you, Pierre. So, Barış Bey mentioned several new functionalities in the ERTMS. So my questions will be related to the ERTMS, not CBTC, okay? So, for the ERTMS, you mentioned the new generation communication instead of GSMR replacing with something else. But you didn't mention anything about ATO over ETCS. Since this is now published by UNISIC, almost 1.5 years, I would like to hear from your side any implementation in the Europe or around the world where two different contractors like yourselves will be interoperable with the ATO in ETCS. This is one of my questions. Where are we with that? When do you think that real life ATO will be operational in a very long mainline implementations in Europe or around the world, together with interoperability between two different, maybe three different contractors? Secondly, you mentioned about the importance of digitalization. I'm combining that one with the integration part of that. Again, the same topic. Two different companies built separate sections of the line, but integrated operation control center. How difficult is this? Any example in Europe? Or are we going to hit to the IPRs, imagining that Alstom is the lead interface contractor, needs to access the data from Hitachi? Is there any standardization work in UNISIC or in the European Union on this topic? And then my last question will be related to the PST interface management with the signaling system. Again, very basic question. Is there any standardization work on this interface within the ETCS? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
You start or-
Actually, three
Please,
hard questions. Three hard questions.
Of course, as expected.
All real life, I expect that. So, who would like to
Just,
start first?
Maybe for the first question, some words which I know, because I'm not an expert in ATO, but I know that in Europe there is a working group between us, between the signaling companies for ATO. And I know that it has been also established, this working group, before pandemic. This ATO issue also was so much trendy before pandemic, but also pandemic has brought to another world which is lots of different challenges than doing even ATO and integration. I know that even the signaling companies have some sample projects which are not so much concrete, but also this is the intention between us to have an interoperable ETCS with ATO. But of course, as we are engineers, when the ATO comes to the picture, it's not easy. It's not easy. But this is the intention. The pandemic has been a bit delayed, as far as I know, but each company is working on that, and this is the intention of European community to have the interoperability also. But as long as there is ETCS, of course, the ATO should be also interoperable. But this is what I know for the ATO part. And for PSD parts, we are experiences. We have some urban projects because PSD means passenger screen doors, if I'm not wrong. And mostly they are usable for the if you have an urban system with mainline operation rules and signaling. The interface is not fixed, but it depends on the country, as far as I know, because we had difficulties. In metros, it's different. You have no standardization. It by project, supplier by supplier, and in their interface. But for the PSD interface, I have to check, but I haven't seen the integration or standard integration solution. Just as far as I remember, in the sub of ETCS, there are some words about PSD, but it's not so much. You have to work on it. The suppliers of signaling and the PSD has to detail it, but it's not so much detailed as far as I know. For the second one, might be better answered by Pierre.
Okay.
I will not add much on top of what he said because I'm definitely not an expert. So anyway, what I would recommend you is to go to our booth because we'll have oral signaling expert there. But still, to your point, I think we will have a real size example, not in Europe. I'm not so much working on Europe's side, so I'm not aware of the latest and greatest workshop or working group on the topic, but we will have, I would say, a real example anytime soon in the coming years in the GCC countries, where you will have a new very high-speed train between different Emirates, between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. For having worked on the pre-qualification phase, there was a strong ETCS level 2 requirement. First, and second, all the companies have to be TSI, so working on interoperability will be a major topic. So this, I think, will be a good example of real size project where first these two states and globally all the GCC peninsula will work on having the same, I would say, interoperable signaling system. This is what I think. It's not for now. It will be, I would say, in execution and would be ready by 2030, but will be a good opportunity to see how the different operators are working each other on these topics. But again, feel free to reach out to our colleagues. I have many of them in signaling which are there to answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Pierre. Actually, the questions are very difficult. I have been involved in different things, and one of the things was that I was a member of the scientific committee in Shift to Rail joint undertaking. Now the name is changed to Europe's Rail. And in there, they found all RNA activities in Europe, and actually that's one of the hottest topics to actually really provide interoperability. And as far as from my experience, I can say that it's very difficult. I mean, it's not in very near soon, in near future. That's a reality. But they are working on it. We'll see. Probably in the meantime, as the standards are being developed, companies, perhaps some other companies like Dragon, perhaps might provide some solutions. I don't know. Since we have now our time, I'd like to finish, but I don't know if Raydan wants to say a few words on this, or...
Well, currently the way we support signaling companies, signaling technology companies, is we have hardware pre-certified as for SIL 4. So that's basically an open-ended platform that you can create an ATO, an EVC, CBTC platform, whatever out of it. So this is how we are supporting. But of course, in the road to standardization, there's need for companies like Wagon to bridge the gap.
Exactly. Okay, I am sorry that we have to finish here, but if there are any questions, our presenters will be around for a few minutes, and then also they will be around the fair area. So let's thank them again once more for their talk. And thank you all for coming here. So I will believe that in around 10 minutes, there will be another panel.
Session.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Thank you so much, our distinguished speakers. We appreciate your contribution to the conference. Yes, would you mind stepping forward on the stage for a panel photo? Değerli konuşmacılarımıza da huzurlarınıza bir kez daha teşekkür edelim. Moderatörümüz Sayın Turan Bey'in de belirttiği üzere 3 konuşmacımızın da firmaları, fuar katılımcılarımız standlarına fuar alanındaki planlardan inceleyerek ulaşabilir. ICA Connect mobil uygulama üzerinden de canlı haritayla standlarına erişebilirsiniz. Duagon ve Hitachi Rail'a ayrıca oturum sponsorlukları için de çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bir sonraki... bir saniye toplu fotoğrafı.